All right. Well, welcome everybody to LinkedIn Tuesday for Tuesday, December 10th. And today we have Locke Alderson with us, who's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting and strategies that get results. So we'd like to know where you're calling in from. So please enter in the chat where you're watching from, enter the city, enter your information, the job title you're looking for, and your LinkedIn URL so that others can um, connect with you and network with you. This event will be recorded, and the recording may be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Comments in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. So please use the chat box to enter in your question as we go throughout Locke's presentation. And to give you a little bit of background about Jeff Morris, he founded Career DFW in 2008, and he started CareerUSA.org in 2012 after he attended a session at the White House and saw a greater need to help job seekers nationwide. He also wrote the book, What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know, which you can also purchase on Amazon. He's led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007, and he is a member of the PIT Crew, which is the practice interview team, since 2017. As for me, I'm your guest host while Jeff is recuperating, and I am also a job seeker. For our LinkedIn Tuesdays, we have Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, and Kurt Vandemeyer with us that present on a rotating basis on LinkedIn Tuesdays. As you know, we have our LinkedIn Tuesday at 1 o'clock Central Time, which is on Tuesdays. For Wednesdays, we have interviewing. And then on Fridays, we have the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. For the practice interview team, it is in person only on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month at Christ United Methodist Church in Plano, Texas. You can join the PIT Crew in person if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, we have the online session, so anybody can join in and listen in and watch somebody actually practice an interview with panelists, and then they will give them constructive feedback on their interview. On Friday, we have the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, and that's currently being guest hosted by Walt Glass and also Matt Keelan. And actually, this Friday, Jeff Morris, who is the founder of Career DFW and CareerUSA.org, will be presenting effective resumes. So I hope that you will be able to join us. Also, please note that we have Career DFW and CareerUSA.org LinkedIn groups. The CareerDFW.org LinkedIn group has over 15,100 members, and we also have the CareerUSA.org. So please be sure to join those two LinkedIn groups. Also, if you want to view previously recorded sessions on YouTube, you can go look for CareerUSA.org, and then you can click on playlists and hit the View Full Playlist button, and then you will see a list of different previously recorded sessions that we've had as what you can see here. Also, are you not receiving any emails about our workshops? Please join the Career USA mailing list, and you can scan the QR code, or you can send an email to Career USA subscribe@groups.io. Please note that Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. We survive on donations. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. If your new company makes matching donations, we are registered. If you do not see us listed, let us know who they use. And so before I turn it over to Locke, want to tell you a little bit about him. He is a retired professional and executive recruiter. He was a senior recruiter at Oracle from 2006 to 2010, recruiting and hiring Oracle and Siebel CRM consultants, managers, and executives. Prior to joining Oracle, Locke was previously a principal recruiter at Siebel from 1998 until 2006, where he recruited Siebel CRM consultants and managers. Locke began working with those in job and career transition in 2001 while at Siebel, something he continues to do today. In July 2013, Locke was approached by Mullen International, an outplacement firm in New York City, about a 90-day contract in outplacement consulting. The original contract lasted for 4 years and 90 days before Mullen sold out to Lee Hecht Harrison. Locke joined Lee Hecht Harrison for 2 years before finally retiring in December of 2019. And now I will turn it over to Locke.
Thank you, Patty. And I'll see if we can start this whole thing off. Is that
I can see it.
okay? Well, that's good. There's some, are your people? Okay, there's what I need. That's my background up there, a little more elaborate than Patty did. I'm thankful for the gracious introduction that she made. In addition to those other companies, there was a couple in California called Rockwell Microelectronics, Litton Data Systems, and Continental Airlines, along with a few others in my career for 42 years in recruiting. And as Patty mentioned, starting in 2001, I was at our church. I started working with a group of people who were in job and career transitions. That was one of those times when there seemed to be a lot of layoffs and people looking for work. So that's kind of my background. All through all of that and through my time, I've had at least 5 periods where I was unemployed as a result of layoff. I also got fired one time in there. And so one of the things that's been very beneficial for me is turning to the scripture and come on, there we go. And this just happens to be one from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. And that's one of those encouraging things that was beneficial to me or very meaningful to me when I was during those times of unemployment. One of those times in California, I was laid off and had a wife at home with a stay-at-home mom with a baby and a 3-year-old, and sent out about 50 resumes, had about 19 interviews, and 16 of those came back with no. Well, about during that time, our church had a Thursday evening service for just before Easter for praise. And I was able to stand up and say that the Lord is faithful in seeing me through this time, even though I didn't have a job yet. And so shortly thereafter, one of the other 3 companies that I had interviewed with made me an offer to come to Texas. And as part of that, I think the direction was that we sold a house that we had in Southern California in a week. And I moved to Texas. I looked for houses on one weekend and I looked at 36 houses and found a house through that time. So it was, brought my wife to Texas at that time as well. So scripture has been very beneficial to me when I've been looking for jobs. Still is during the day as well. But I guess one of the questions I want to ask you is, why are you using LinkedIn? Maybe somebody has recommended it to you. And maybe it's something that you want to use. Well, one of the things about LinkedIn is it's probably the #1 tool in recruiters' toolboxes today. And while most recruiters don't use the LinkedIn license, there's a license that, since LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft, there's a license for the LinkedIn Recruiter. That's a $10,000 seat license per year. And Terry Sullivan, who is on this panel of speakers, he subscribes to that. Another group that I'm with, MEG, which is an executive networking group here in Dallas that meets on Thursday mornings. I'm on that group as a co-moderator. Midge Duncan, who's on that, she uses the Recruiter Lite, which is about $5,000 a year. But most recruiters use the free version of LinkedIn. So if your goal is to be found on LinkedIn, one of the things you want to do is to beef up your profile. So we're going to talk about your profile, what your headline is, and your open to work, your dashboard, and the about sections, your professional work history, your skills, endorsements. And then we're going to take a look at optimizing your profile. And the next phase, we're going to take a look at how do recruiters actually search, because you need to know what they're doing with that. And then how do you go about searching for jobs for yourself? And one of the people who've used LinkedIn mentioned to me, LinkedIn's been an invaluable tool and irreplaceable in my job search. And the ability to show employers the exact experience and skills that I have on my profile is what ultimately landed me the job. And I know in counseling others that have found work, beefing up their LinkedIn profiles, what led to that job interview. I won't say they got a job, because you have to go through that interview process as well, which is where the practice interview team and others like that happen. So if you haven't participated, that 4th Thursday, although the 4th Thursday of December is on Christmas, so I don't think they're going to meet this week. Let's talk about that. The question is, what are you doing to attract recruiters and hiring managers' attention? Well, the first thing about, like anything else, first impressions on LinkedIn and your resume are vitally important. But it all starts with your profile, okay? And when you take a look at the profile, there's some certain things that are there. It's the impression that potential employers and hiring managers and recruiters have about you. And if your headline is the only thing somebody sees, what does it say about you? Does it address what the recruiter cares about? And does it tell who you are as well? The next thing, the headline is really an opportunity to show what you are and not just what you do. Okay. One of the questions about that, I think that's a danger that we all run into, is we think we've got it made. You've done your profile, and you can check that off the list and move to the next thing. But how long has it been since you've updated your profile? Well, I attended a presentation on LinkedIn back the first of this year, and somebody asked about a freshness guarantee for your profile. And what he meant by that was, think about when you go to the grocery store, when you look at the produce, you're not going to buy the apple that's got a bruise on it, or the tomato that's squishy, or you're going to go to the milk and the dairy section and look at milk. If it's beyond the use date, you're probably going to pass on that milk. And likewise, anything in the dairy and the bakery department, you're going to pass on that as an expire date as well. Same applies true for your profile. You don't want it to look like an old rusty car out there. You want it to be something that's fresh. And so you can do things to update your profile just a little bit every time that you touch on it. Again, getting back to your profile, again, that same old saw is, it's viewed for 6 to 10 seconds. And what does it do to get your attention? What do you actually see? Well, you can notice on this one, I've got a background photo. I've got a good headshot. I'm open to work. I've got my name underneath my headshot. And then there's a headline, some things about me. And then I'm open to work, that description. So that's the first impression that somebody gets about you. There is something that can help you test that, and we'll look at that in just a minute. But basically, you want to have a complete profile on your LinkedIn. The reason being, the more things that you complete to reach that all-star status, and it used to be that there was a pie chart that showed you how much you've completed on that. I think the highest I ever got was 95. I don't think that they ever let anybody get to 100. So the headshot is important. You can take a selfie, if you will, but make sure if you're taking a selfie that you've got a good background, there's not a glare, and there's not a glare off your glasses if you wear glasses. The headline that you use, you want to use the job title of the position or positions that you're actually applying for. And you can have multiple titles, and we'll talk about headlines a little bit later. You want to complete your about section. It used to be called the summary, and it's an overview of your career. You want to use some of those keywords from your profession. The contact information should be in your about section, needs to be on the top line. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to about that. Even one of my friends who's an expert recruiter, and probably a recruiting guru, looked at his profile, and his telephone number is not in the top section of his about section. So it's difficult to get in touch with you if the first thing that they see about you is that, because there's no contact information there. And if you hit the contact information right here on that, and your telephone number, if you happen to open up your security settings to more than just your first degree connections, they will have not any way to get in touch with you. It's ringing in my ear if you hear something. So my computer guy is trying to help me find a memory for my computer. Okay, the other things that are there are education is one of those things that people say once they've got it, okay, they don't think to upgrade it with what you've done recently, your certifications and any professional development courses, and certainly recommendations from your co-workers. One of the things about your headline, does it really tell who you are? Does it identify what you actually do? And is it a grabber to get somebody's attention? Well, let's take a look at some headlines now. These I've consolidated brought it all into one picture. I used to have these come in at one at a time as I clicked my button on my computer. But I've said let's take a look at it. The top three, nothing wrong with any of these, and they've been on profiles that I've reviewed. Unemployed, not probably the best thing. It's truthful, but probably not the most positive thing you can talk about. Retired, same thing. Seeking a new opportunity says somebody that you're looking, okay, which is better than somebody who's not looking for recruiters. Formerly VP of Finance, again, the negative of being formally. How long has it been since you've been working is the recruiter question. The next one, a little bit more descriptive, experienced design engineer with seeking a new opportunity. Recruiters would ask, what kind of design engineer? Social media strategist with content management, seeking new opportunity with print and digital media, public relations and marketing and corporate communications. Each of these that you see on there, some of them have been reduced down to just a couple of words to get them on the slide. But each of them is fairly descriptive. But what are you doing? Is that enough of a hook to ask somebody to click through to the next slide? What you've done, and this is included in the slide deck. If you want to ask me for a copy, it's lockealderson@gmail.com. Be happy to send you the whole deck. These are some adjectives that you can add to that, and titles that you can have, descriptives that you've done, and some examples. Dynamic program manager driving brand awareness. Okay. Here's another thing that you can do. This is my headline again, an older one. Again, did you see what you see? That's line at the bottom with the URL on it, the headlines at sharethrough.com. If you send your headline to them from your LinkedIn profile, that will do an evaluation. I came in at about 72% overall, and the impact was about 50%. When I changed it, went up to 75%, and again, 75% on the impact. So what you can do is to check out your headline and see what the impact of somebody's doing with an algorithm. Here's some more descriptive headlines. You notice they're descriptive in terms of adding some verbs afterward rather than just job title, increasing productivity, specialized in expansion of international business. The bottom one, as you see, full stack applications developer was SQL, sequential query language, JavaScript, AWS, and Nodes are ones that you can look at like that. Project manager with IDLE. Again, recruiters know some of these buzzwords and acronyms. And if you have an acronym that's not widely known or is widely used, like AMA, like American Marketing Association, American Management Association, there are 22 different descriptions of AMA if you look at the older Webster's Dictionary. So if you use one of those acronyms, the first time that you use it, if it's in the body text of your profile, you want to spell out what it is. Again, this is others that you can see. Systems analyst using digital indices, it should be indices, to reduce hospital administration's paperwork by 50%. Anytime that you can cut the amount of work by 50%, people get an interest in how you did that. Those are some of the different kinds of things that you can find. Here's just another one of those encouraging scriptures that I found. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal. Why would you want to use open to work? Well, it gives you the opportunity to look at, and it tells recruiters a little bit more information about you. Also gives you the opportunity to list 5 additional job titles. In addition, it tells them if you're one of those people that's open to relocation, is you can tell that, and what type of work are you looking for? You're looking to work direct, a hybrid where you're working remote and direct, or where you're only looking to work real direct. So that those are up for about 90 days before you need to change it. But if you use that open to work section, it has some artificial intelligence in there. You can just check on executive recruiter, professional recruiter. Here, this one I mentioned started to say career consultant. And you notice there's a drop-down list of different ones that you can add. Open, on-site, hybrid, and remote, and in Plano, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. And what's your status for looking? Are you looking immediately or flexible, or not even checking it, that you're just kind of open to the new opportunities as they pop up? This is another area. Your analytics on your homepage will tell you who's looking for you and who's looking at your profile. You've had post impressions. I had an announcement out yesterday and probably went out to these 6,400. It's actually 6,400 people that are followers now. And again, the number of profile views that actually looked at people that actually popped open your profile to take a look at it and actually appeared in search appearances, what you really want in the last week. Again, those are the things that are interesting to you because that's where you get the activity, people to call you. Are you using the features section of your LinkedIn profile to display examples of your work? These are just some of the LinkedIn presentations that I've done. Other people have put their resume out there. I don't recommend that because the reason for that is that resume can be very static unless you change it periodically. And that by changing it periodically is one way to freshen your resume so it comes to the top of the stack, because freshness is one of those factors that LinkedIn looks at in their algorithm. Presentations that you made. My son is a graphic. motion graphic designer. He's got his portfolio in there that people can actually take a look at some of the samples of his work. Moving on to the summary section in your about section. This one's a little bit longer. I normally recommend 3 to 5 lines and having a break or a carriage return. This is a particularly good one because it's so well written. Notice at the top of that, he's got contact information. Contact me at my Gmail account. He's also listed some things there, and down here at the bottom, that's one of those acronyms that I mentioned, financial planning and analysis. Well, this is a particularly well-written one as well. Short paragraphs, though, get people's attention. Longer paragraphs, people tend to gloss over them and they may miss some important things about you. Here's some other sample summaries. LinkedIn allows you now, and it's pretty generally accepted, to use first person. Notice here in the first example, to describe you and what you've done. The key competencies is a way to say that that's not necessarily something that you normally see in a resume. For example 2, I'm a strategic, creative, hands-on marketer. Again, something that you can do like that makes it more interesting. So those are just some different examples of summaries that you can use. Let's take a look at your experience section. This is actually from my profile. Again, you have your job title. You want to have your company names and dates. Your duties and responsibilities. You want to limit those to 3 to 5 lines. Keep them short. Notice here I've got, I think, about 3.5 lines to describe my duties there. I've got a couple of bulleted accomplishments there. I also included when I left Oracle Corporation, Amanda Gill, who was then director of recruiting for North America at Oracle, sent a nice note to the staff saying that I was going to be missed for my contribution. But as I mentioned, you can add those contributions, those accomplishments right there, and they kind of stand out. How do you stand out, or how do you differentiate yourself from the others in your group? If you had a group of recruiters at a company, again, it makes a difference as to what you did as opposed to they did. Another thing that LinkedIn has done is to allow you to add to your profile. And one thing, if you're not working right now, if you're not on a job, you want to add a position, including one that describes what you're actually looking for. There are also, you can add position, a section for your volunteer experience, and you can have one for projects. I know my volunteer experience is included in my general profile because it was written before they allowed you to add that. But let's take a look at some of those additions to your profile. This just happens to be one for a current position if you're not working. This one first one. He put the title as a software applications developer. He was looking for a full-time employment, okay? And searching for an opportunity in the financial services industry. You can put the type of industry that you might be looking for and leaves it open. And here, as I started to add in, again, artificial intelligence, the location, Dallas, there's in Dallas-Fort Worth, Metroplex area, there are about 6 million people. Dallas County, Dallas, Texas proper, and then you can also have there is a Dallas, Georgia, and a Dallas, Oregon. So you have to be careful about those. When you add a project, it allows you to add on something like that. I was a program manager for the Society for Human Resource Development Dallas chapter, the Staffing Management Association. I just added that in as an example that you can show. But when I was a recruiter for Oracle, I would frequently get resumes from candidates and have a one-page devoted to each project that they work on, because many of the people in that field work as consultants and they were looking for full-time work. Next area that you want to take a look at is your skills and endorsements. Again, this happens to be one of the things. You can list 2 or 3 skills. If you don't list them, LinkedIn will choose them for you, but you can see these where you can click on these, journalism or any of the others. And if you don't know your skills, this is a way to do that. I picked this up from Ruth's presentation a couple of months ago. Finding new jobs with skills you already have. By entering your title, and if you go down here to skip ahead, this will allow you to list your job title. Here, as you mentioned, as a implementation project engineer for software, and it lists some of the other skills that are involved in that. And it rates how you rate on that as well. But you could include those. The LinkedIn URL is there at the bottom. It's a valuable tool. I might add that they don't have a lot of titles. They're probably limited to about 100 different job titles. But it does give you a significant number of skills that you can look at and possibly add to your profile. They've increased the number of skills to 100 now. A question I will ask are, they organized for maximum benefit? Used to be before you could list the other endorsements that are there or where you use those skills, you could probably get 3, which was what shows up on the screen. Now it's just 2 because people have added more to it. But if those are not the skills that you want, and if you haven't chosen your skills, LinkedIn will choose them for you. You can change that by clicking on those three dots. When you get that, it allows you to reorder and endorse your skills by holding your cursor over the four bars over there on the right. You can push, hold, and drag and drop whichever ones you want. And by reordering them occasionally, that's another way to refresh your resume, your profile. Again, that's something that you want to do to keep in mind. Okay, another question that comes up is, why should I look at other people's profiles? Again, if you do a profile search for yourself, like a recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there are currently 26,000, actually it's now up to about 35,000 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They have recruiter in their profile. So that, and if you aren't showing up in the first 10 screens, that's 100 thumbnail sketches like the ones that you see there. You might want to try taking a look at some of those and see what some of the wordage is in their profiles. If that wordage applies to you, then why don't you use some of that in your own profile? Notice her about section, highly accomplished, dedicated talent acquisition specialist, 15 years of both staffing and corporate environments. Okay? So she's worked in the agency and she's worked in the corporate environment. But by doing that, that allows you to take a look at other people's profile and include some of that information in yourself. Doing that.
Locke, we have a question.
Question.
If you so when you go to the skills for the position that you add in for like the position that you're seeking, should you add skills to that position that you made up?
Well, hopefully you didn't make it up. Hopefully you've got some experience in that area. But yes, it's
Right.
good to add some experience if you've done certain things there. Those that
So
would
if
be.
it says looking for account director, well, I've done that account director role in the past, so I'm going to add in account management, et cetera, under that looking for next opportunity position.
And again, skills down used to be 50, and LinkedIn is gradually rolling out that you can increase that number up to 100. Okay, mine is still at 50 for some strange reason. Haven't found that yet out why. Hopefully that answered that question.
It was under the actual skills section if once you enter in that position, not actually the skills in this area. So you know how in each different position that you have, you
Right.
add
You
in the
can
skill.
select for each position, you can select what skills you've actually used. Yes.
Right. So the question was, do we add the skills, like I'm searching for account director roles, that I would
Yeah.
add in account management, client service, all those things.
Where you've done that. Yes, that's a very good
Correct.
thought.
Yep.
Well, let's move on a little bit now. LinkedIn for actually job searches. Let's take a look at searches on LinkedIn. How does LinkedIn actually run a search? Because when they run a search, it may be a little bit different than recruiters actually searching how you would search for a job. Okay, but recruiters actually, and this is for what do recruiters actually look for? Okay, what do they really search for? Each section on your LinkedIn profile has a value, as well as your activity on LinkedIn. And those values add up when a search is conducted based on the fields that are selected. Those with the highest scores in each of those fields will go to the top of the qualifications list on recruiter's list. Okay, recruiters generally look for job title. That's probably the most important thing that recruiters take a look at. And your current, and you can have job titles in your current and in your headline and in your open to work section, your about section, and your employment section. So each of those areas, the more time that you have your job titles that are there, they're going to be beneficial and they'll rate higher. And to do that. Another area that they look at is keywords and skills. What are the keywords in your profession? I mentioned the key skills and that LinkedIn URL that you can look at. You can also look at the job postings that you're looking for and what are the skills that they're listing there. Those are some of the skills that should appear in your profile. Should also appear in your resume, by the way. Okay. Keywords. What industries have you worked in? If you've worked across industries, that is very valuable as opposed to somebody who spent all over their career in one industry. I know when I first got started in recruiting, I had a candidate who spent 25 years with a company. And the question for recruiters always comes up, is it 25 years of experience, the repeated, each year, 25, is it 1 year repeated 25 times, or he's had 25 years of progressively more responsible experience? It's a question that recruiters think about as they look at people's resume. In specific industries, again, healthcare is notorious for looking for people with healthcare experience. So that's one of those things that you need to be aware of and talk about. Your education and your geographic location. Again, certain areas of the country have concentrations of people with a given background and concentrations of jobs in those areas. I was working with a candidate that was a environmental health and safety engineer. He was in Arkansas looking for a job. We looked online for searches for all the jobs for that. I think there were about 8 companies in a 4-state region that employed those kind of people. So he's going to have a wider area search than somebody that is looking in a local area like the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Current and prior companies, and what's your length of service? Those are things that they consider. And likewise, then recruiters tend to look more carefully at your summer experience. Moving on, this is from Kurt Vandemotter. When Kurt, as I mentioned, Kurt subscribes to the LinkedIn Recruiter software license. And at that time, he could search all of LinkedIn. At that time, when I took this screenshot of that, there were about 710 million people on LinkedIn. It's now probably over 900 million on LinkedIn worldwide. He can use in 3 data entry screens, he can search that down or narrow that list down to probably 70 candidates within 30 seconds, just by what he inputs there. But you notice job skills is over here, location, skills and assessments, companies, schools, academic background, year since graduation, and keywords and industries. So those are all things that recruiters actually search on with their screens. So let's take a look at some results from a LinkedIn search. This one was for a product manager in the Seattle area where the company was. And they would also consider with product marketing, product management. In many cases, those two are intertwined in jobs, but they were also looking for people from the geographic area there in Seattle, Microsoft, Amazon, and Fluke, and University of Washington is down here. That search, there were actually 6,900 candidates. 2,500 of them actually had links to that company. They were following that company and engaged in their brand. So those are the people that are most likely to have an interest in your company. So that list is there. Again, let's move on to another search. This was for a project manager in Chicago. And again, in that search, there were about 43,000 in that search, but only 83 of them were open to new opportunities. So who is the recruiter going to look at first? Well, I'm probably going to look at that group first to make it easy for me. Recruiters like to cherry pick and make it easy. If they can find somebody with a limited amount of work, they can fill that job and move to the next one. So those are just some of the things you notice over here with Chicago with a project manager. This one was for looking for business strategy and analytics. A little bit different project manager, just doing a software implementation. Again, searching for jobs. Okay. You can use the search box there, or you can use the jobs box over here. Either one to search. Again, the search box there limits you to just the title of the job or the company that you have. The job box opens up to allowing to search a different way by looking for certain jobs or job titles or companies and a search location. I will add, if you use this screen and have not put a location in previously in a search, it will default to the United States. And then Lemmer will show you a search result as a result of that. But again, those are the ways that you want to click and then click search. The first one, again, he failed to do that, so it defaulted to the United States as a sales rep. In that case, there were about 200,000 jobs that he was looking at. Again, there's some filters over here that we're going to look at. That's one of the things that you definitely want to look at when you're searching for jobs. You want to use the filters. And the other button that we want to talk a little bit about is the easy apply. So let's take a look at that sales recruiter or sales representative job and how you refine that. In this case, we're looking for a senior accountant. We added Plano, Texas, which is here in the suburbs of Dallas. One of the limitations is mileage. Again, they limited the default setting for most job boards is 25 miles because applicants have taught recruiters, I don't want to drive more than 20 to 25 miles to work. And so recruiters said, I'll limit my search to 20 to 25 miles. And job boards, when they did that, they adopted that as the default setting. You can lower that to, I think on LinkedIn, it's now 10 miles and 5 miles, or up it to 50. So if you live outside a geographic area like Denton, Texas is more than 25 miles from either downtown Dallas or downtown Fort Worth. So you can do that. That's the way to do it. Notice this job over here is highlighted. Actual job description is over here on the right. And the apply, this is an easy apply type thing. One of the things I will say about easy apply, if it allows you to, excuse me, upload a current resume, that's fine. If it does not allow you to upload a current resume, it's going to take a snapshot of your LinkedIn profile, and that will be your application. And that application may not be customized to the job that you're looking for and may not show your strengths in that particular job. The next one is for quality assurance. I just entered that as a title in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I was doing a presentation to the American Society for Quality Assurance here in the Dallas area. And most of the people that attended those meetings were managers. But look at this, we got 1,900 jobs. Again, that was too many to take a look at. So using the requirement, one of the filters, and added a different word. In this case, was not using a filter, but adding the word manager. Now, all of those manager jobs that are listed below, and there are 174 of those, were included in the other search below, but it narrowed the search down by that. Okay, makes it a little bit easier to take a look at some of those. One of the other filters that we can take a look at, this one is, again, executive assistant. I started to type in Dallas and noticed that there's a Dallas, Georgia in there. So those are some of the artificial intelligence that LinkedIn applies to make it easy for you. Again, these are the filters, and when they now appear, this is an older screenshot. They now appear on the right third of your screen when you look at that, the filters. Again, the one that I recommend the most is to apply for jobs in the past week. The reason being, you want fresh jobs unless you have an unusual job title and there are not very many people in your profession. Again, then you can open it up. But a lot of times, again, notice here that there are almost 2,100 jobs that are out there in LinkedIn. What that means is probably that some of those jobs, probably more than half of those jobs, have been filled, and a recruiter failed to take them down. Another filter that LinkedIn has picked up from Indeed.com was the salary areas. Notice these are estimates of jobs, and some states are now requiring that the salary be included in a job posting. I think New York and California are two of those in the vanguard of that development. But you can search for that. So if you're making more than 100,000, you're probably not looking for jobs down in 40. So why not eliminate those jobs first, and it narrows it down to about 83 jobs, depending upon you. Easy to apply, I mentioned. Some of those are that way, and under 10 applicants. The other filters, full-time. Most of the jobs on all of the job boards are going to be full-time. But there are jobs for contract employees, part-time, intern, and temporary, depending upon your need and what you're looking for. I know I've looked for people when I've been working for people at our church's outreach center and the job readiness skills. We looked at jobs that are temporary or part-time because they didn't want, well, it was a stay-at-home mom, our mom working from home, didn't want to work full-time or wanted to be home when the kids came. The Dallas area is a pretty big geographic area, about 75, I guess it's 100 miles wide and about 75 north to south. So you can narrow it down by looking at the different cities there and notice the number of jobs on each one. A lot of jobs in Irving, Texas, for some reason, for a recruiter. There are a lot of companies, I guess, out in the area. And you can search by company or also by industry, but those are some of the filters. And if you click too many boxes and say, I don't want to do that, you can come back up and clear. It's going to take you back to your original search to save you some time. Again, one of the things that LinkedIn allows you to do is to create job alerts. Notice this one, there's a job when I looked for a recruiter in Plano, Texas. You can create or turn the radio button, click on it, pull to the right or pull to the left to turn it off. When you click it on, it allows you to get those job notices daily or weekly. Those notices come in usually between 7 and 8 in the morning. And then you can take a look at those. I know I still get a lot of job referrals for job searches that I've done working with candidates. I've got a healthcare candidate who's worked in healthcare up in Ashland, Oregon. I was up there on vacation to see a friend of my wife's, and she asked me to stay and sit with her husband, help him find a job. Well, this is some of the result that you actually get to look at. Some homework for you. Again, you notice the things that are there. Complete the sections of your profile. It increases if you have all the sections complete, you're going to appear in more searches and higher in those searches. And use the name that you normally use. I didn't mention that. Again, my legal name is John Locke Alderson Jr. Somebody asked me yesterday what my first name was because I go by Locke. And John Locke is a famous English philosopher. It's also an old family name for me, for somebody back in the 1850s. One of my great-grandfathers. Again, the headline that you have lists multiple job titles, and you can use descriptive things to say what you've done with them. Open to work, you definitely want to use it unless perhaps you're in a stealth mode. I guess one of the things about open to work that I didn't mention, you have two choices if you're using it. To limit it to those recruiters who subscribe to LinkedIn Recruiter or Recruiter Lite, or to all the world of LinkedIn. Most recruiters that I knew did not subscribe to either one of those licenses. So you want to do that. But if you're in stealth mode, you may want to limit it to just recruiters. Again, do the titles that you have. And if you don't know the titles, look at some of the other titles. When you do job hunting and look for jobs online, what are some of the other titles that they use for the jobs? Because you may search for something like recruiter, it comes like talent associate or talent management specialist. Again, talking about the same thing. List your phone number and your email on the top line, the first line of your about section. Do include, when you're listing in your experience section, those 3 to 5 lines that I mentioned. Do some of the results. What were the results of you performing a duty? When I was with one company, the last year I was there, we hired 180 professionals in that 1 year. The other recruiter, I hired 130. That's a pretty significant accomplishment with all the other constraints that I had on the job. Use the keywords and skills from your profession and do a search about yourself. That's it. My email address is there, lockealderson@gmail.com. And if you want a copy of the presentations, I'm coming back to you, Patty, and we'll go to look at screens of people looking for jobs. And well,
Great. Thanks so much, Locke. So if anybody would like to have Locke review their profile, please enter your name in the chat or raise your hand, and then we'll start looking through your profile and he can give you some tips. Anyone want to volunteer? Or we can look at jobs if nobody wants to do their profile. Okay, Jody Dulberg.
Jody, J-O.
ODYDULBERG.
This one here.
Yes.
Notice Jody has got that. Notice it has a blue connect button. So I can send him a connect. Normally, if you use the blue connect button, you do want to extend a note. I'm not going to do that in Jody's case. I'm just going to go ahead and send it. But do a note, because otherwise your note to them may get disregarded. Okay. We're going to take a look at Jody's profile. It's got a nice profile of a data center, it looks like. Okay. Your title, harnessing IT innovation, driving success with leadership and ServiceNow experience. Jody, you've got to include some of the job titles that you're looking for. They're down here, but include them up here. You want them as many places as you can, because it adds to the credibility that you have. Another thing that I want to check with Jody. Okay. I do not, other than this, I don't have a way to get hold of Jody. Okay. Because when I look at his profile, it's not there. The other thing I'll look at is in his about section. Some people like to include it in the about section in the bottom of that. And let's take a look. Okay. So he does, even if I were interested in Jody as a candidate, I don't have a way to get in touch with him if we're not first degree connections. Okay. Well, that's something to know about Jody as well. Okay.
So Jody, we would recommend that you put your contact information in the first line of your about section. If you do not want to put in your phone number, you can get a free Google Voice phone number that works with most major carriers, and I'll put the link for that.
Yeah, that must have got tweaked off because I usually have my phone number in there.
Well, this is what we're looked at. That's what's online right now.
Yep, got it.
Okay. So that's what somebody will see when they see that. Again,
No information to contact you.
activity and posting, that's great. Good activity. Notice here on one job, he's got 2 jobs that are linked. My experience with Oracle and Siebel is linked because Oracle purchased Siebel. What I'm looking at is he's got license and certification. LinkedIn offers some licenses now that you can find. He's also taken a Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, which is Microsoft's cloud that you can have. By his skills, he has Microsoft Office and Microsoft products. Unless you were looking for that, but he's got 94 skills. Jody, those are not the ones that I would have as the top ones on my skill set. Okay. The reason being, okay, so I had to look at what are the ones that are related to the jobs that you're looking for. Having experience with Microsoft Office is almost a given for everybody that's looking for a job today. Microsoft products, which ones have you worked with and what have you done with them? Are you a user Are you an installer or somebody who's provided technical support for one of those? Those are just some of the things to think about. And you can choose that when you have it your side, there will be that pencil there to look at your skills. And then the 3 dots will open up that you can look at other skills. You can apply those skills to different areas as she's mentioned. And you have endorsements. Okay. Other than that, looks good for a technical purpose. But if I were looking and you had AWS experience and Azure experience, those would be the 2 skills that I would show because those are the first 2 that show up. But you know your field much better than I, so you know what people are looking for. But that's the first thing that people see, and that creates an impression.
Some great comments. Thank you, Locke.
Okay, let's take a look at somebody else, unless somebody else.
Yep, we have a couple of others. So the next person is Callum, Calum. And then the last name is Keenan.
I could
No,
type.
Calum,
I know.
and then it's Keenan. Yes.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to include the note, Calvin. I'm just going to connect. But normally when you do that, they will not look at you. Okay. Again, quality manager, process improvement, validation reduction. What are some of the other titles in terms of manager, quality assurance director, data driven? The guitar player is interesting. I don't know that I'd include it in my headline, but that's a personal thing. Okay. Contact information. What I'm looking at for contact information. Okay, that's all I have. Callum, I don't know how to get in touch with you other than sending you an invitation. I got an invitation. Patsy and I were talking about it earlier about somebody who has asked for a referral from somebody else. Okay. Notice his contact information is there, but again, I have to click on more to see it. I would take that and move that whole thing to the first line. Okay. Do some white space or blanks between those. That should be your first line. It can be multiple places in your profile. I know Jeff has his contact. Jeff Morris had his contact information up in his banner shot as well. Okay. The other thing about your about section, you have limited yourself to the designations in your field, and that's great. But you can talk about that, about other things that you've done there. Okay. Which is take a look at some other people's. You've got 2,000 characters in your about section that you get to play with. Your experience section, the job descriptions aren't very descriptive at Elbit. I'm not surprised that I know Chris McCaskill from Elbit days. He used to be over there as well. But again, give more descriptive information as a quality engineer. Elbit's an electronics firm doing government and defense electronics, as I recall. What are some of the other duties that you were responsible for? What were some of the tools that you were working with, the equipment that was used for testing, and those kind of things are quality assurance? Honeywell International, that tells me that you were there for a year, but doesn't tell me what. DHL, what were you doing in those things? They don't give nice pedigrees, but again, it doesn't give much information about your experience. So beef that up, okay? His skills is Six Sigma and lean manufacturing. Great for if those are the skills that you want to show. Again, notice he's got 50 skills, but there may be some other skills that are related to the jobs, and refreshing your skills, it can be that way. Okay. Okay. Other questions that you may have?
I have other people who want to have their profiles looked at.
Okay, let's go with that.
Okay, Wade, Wade, Farrell, Farrell.
SELL or FA?
F as in Frank, A as in Apple. There you go.
I wrote some of the names down earlier. Again, I'm going to do that way to you. I'm just going to send you an invitation. And normally you would say where you met somebody, so that they could connect with you and connect at your. Come on. One thought that you may have, Wade, rather than using commas, is using the pipe character between job titles. And that's a shift key above your enter key on most of your keyboards. Again, if you use a shift key, use a pipe character or a backslash as a character between words or job titles, make sure that you have a line on either side of it. Otherwise, they will not be. Well, we know Calvin and I are connected down. Okay.
Yeah, just quick question, Locke, about that. Doesn't that take up more space?
It does. You have 220 characters in your headline to play with. Again, so 4 lines, I think it's about almost 5 lines, 4.5 lines is about what you play with. But yes, it does take up more space. It's just a thought. It's easier to see and to read. It sets those out as titles. You've used different titles: renewals manager, enterprise account manager, account partner, business partner, or some other titles. Customer relations, you don't mention industry that you're working in, which may be beneficial or not. Okay, that's something to consider. He has not opened up his profile to what his contact information is, so we'll go down and see if it's in his about section. He's got it there, so we get in touch with him. Again, looking at your descriptive experience, career break, that's fine. He's included volunteer experience in his actual experience. Again, but I would include a job description of what is the job that you're looking for, what type of industry are you looking in, okay? And you can have all of that together, because you've sown those two, career transition, career break, as almost the same thing. It's better to show it, what is your opportunity. Even if you've only looked for a job 1 hour a day for 6 weeks, that's actually what you're doing as your job, is looking for a job, which is a full-time job, even though it's 1 hour a day. Okay. What were some of the accomplishments as a sales coordinator, account manager at Monotype in that last 2 years?
I could put that in. That's in my resume.
Yeah, hey, your profile and your resume should be in sync with one another. Okay. They don't have to be matched one another, but they can't disagree with one another. Okay. If the date's wrong on one, you need to make sure that they're correct. But what are some of the accomplishments? As a salesperson, you have sales quotas and goals. As a recruiter, I had recruiting goals. When I was with the Oracle Corporation, it was 15 candidates a quarter. That's 5 people a month. Or just an average consultant. Sometimes I had executive searches, and that would be 1 for 3 months. In addition to the other responsibility, global account and global alliances. Who were some of your market that you cut there? You've got a good pedigree of companies that you've called on. Okay. So those are the things that you've done, is global alliances, working with those. Those are some pretty significant things that stand out on people's mind. Okay. What I was looking for, or you get some recommendations there. What I was looking for were your skills. Okay, account management, enterprise account management. If there are other skills that you've got listed, okay. Okay. Back. Sorry about that. Come on. Wade, hopefully that gives you some information to work with.
Yeah.
It looks good as a resume. As I say, some tips to tune it up is the basic thing.
Okay.
Patty, you got somebody
Appreciate
else
it. Thank you.
look for a job?
Yep. So the next person, I'll spell it for you, is OLU, B as in boy, UNMI. So is it, and then the last name is Agbula.
This one?
No. Type the last name in. I'll make sure it's AGB, B as in boy, not E. OOLA. So it must be that first person there.
That one? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, same thing. I'm going to connect. Just going to send it anyway. That's a no-no in terms of Jeff Morris. If he frowned at me today, so.
He would.
Would. Yeah, but I'm making it easy for people. Again, I want to look and see project manager, PMP. Okay, you got your certification, business analyst, product management. Rather than product management, I would go product manager. It's a slight difference. One is functional and one is the actual job description that you've done. Okay. Inspiring teams. I've never looked for a person to inspire teams as a recruiting term. Might use that for some other terminology. Agile transformation. Again, if you've done work with Agile and there's a specific title that goes with that, I would add that. Team leadership, again, one of those things that it's expected for the people that are managers, but not necessarily one that I look for in searching for jobs. Usually recruiters search for 3 or 4 terms at one time. Driving innovation. Okay, you've got another line and a half. That's Olu Bunmi, right? Probably butchering your pronunciation. But notice down here in your open to work, your titles that you've looked there, those are some of the titles that you can repeat up there. What are some of the other titles of jobs when you've looked for a job? Again, the contact information. Okay. What I'm looking at is titles because I can't get hold of people. It's no fun for you not to hear anything. For recruiters, it's no fun to not be able to get hold of a good candidate to talk further.
Yeah.
I would add your contact information. Let's connect in your first line, or put your email address and your phone number. You don't have to say email and phone. You can just put the numbers that people know what a cell phone looks like, or a phone number looks like, and what an email address looks like. Okay, notice she's got self-employed. I would shoot the title for your title of your job rather than self-employed. I put the job, the title of what you actually do. The kind of work that you're doing. Okay, that you're looking for. Dory, I'll catch up with you later, okay? Okay, Scrum Master. It's not surprising, that's one that you said. Okay, as a Scrum Master with Federal Home Loan Bank of Dallas, what did you do? You've only listed the title, but no increase in team velocity by training and implementing Scrum management. Okay, what are some of the projects that you may have worked on there in 4.5 years? Same thing with the technical project manager. What were they involved with? The software implementation, and the project involved 25 people and 100,000 lines of code, and had a budget of $5 million to install it. Give some more information that lets people evaluate what you've done and the context that you've given it. With Freddie Mac, the same kind of thing. Again, you've given a highlight, but you haven't built on what your jobs were in terms of what you actually did. She's listed some projects, everything but Scrum. Okay, that's fine to say. Again, what are some of the projects? Again, that page that section of project allows you to give a lot more detail than you've given. Again, LinkedIn is not limited by space. Okay. In most categories, like the About section has got 2,000 characters. Your work experience area is almost unlimited in terms of the amount of experience that you have. Skills or user stories. That may not be the key skills. If you look at job postings, you can probably identify 1 or 2 job requirements that are there that are called knockout factors. Try to identify what the knockout factors that you possess and what are those skills, and those would be the ones that would be at the top of your list. She's got 100 skills that she's chosen, okay? And she's been endorsed by some of these by Terry Sullivan. So she's probably attended Terry's class, which is great, okay? Other questions that she may have?
We have other profiles if you
Okay.
have some time.
Oh.
So the next person is Craig, C-R-A-I-G. The last name is Hewitt, H-E-W-I-T-T.
Thanks, Patty.
Yep. That's it.
I've just done 6 no-nos for Jeff. Okay. Don't tell him, Patty. Okay. Again, we're secondary connections. If you haven't opened up your security setting, and I'm not saying to do that. And likewise, as Patty said, you can get a Google phone number if you want to have somebody screen your calls. Okay, but it's not there, so I can't get hold of somebody. Copywriter, storyteller, content strategist. What have you done as a copywriter? What have you done as a storyteller? What has it sold? What is it? How successful have you been? You can expand that a little bit up there. You've got some space to do that.
Okay.
Marketing director. Again, some of the titles that you have, mutual groups. He's got his contact information so that we can get hold of it. Okay. He's got something in his featured section as a copywriter. This is part of his portfolio of something that he uses. There might be other examples that he wants to as well. But by clicking on that, the hiring manager or recruiter can take a look and see what you've done as a creative marketing copywriter. Some copy that he's prepared, articles or just presentations that he's made. Okay, one thing for a lot of people, when you use the word present like that, that implies that you're still employed there. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you talk to somebody, you want to be honest about if you're no longer with there. That's another reason to have another section on that, another experience, if you will, that shows that you're a copywriter or a creative marketing copywriter looking for a position. That may be what you've got on there right now.
Yeah, basically I'm currently working as a freelance copywriter, so that's why I have that set that way.
Self-employed, you can also put freelance, okay?
Okay.
Or contract, which is some other terms in your field. There are certain fields where contract or freelance are more widely accepted than in others. Recruiting is one of those. Programming is another one of those. Consulting is another one of those that the people in that, okay? You came from California. Well, actually, you were in Mountain View Publishers. That sounded like the Bay Area in California, so. Okay, looks good so far. He's been creative with his use of graphics and visuals and some icons that he has there, which is fine. They add influence and impact. The skills that he have, copywriting and direct marketing. If those are the two that you want to show, that's great. You might reorder those occasionally to freshen up your resume. Again,
Okay.
your profile. Again, doing that once or twice a week doesn't hurt you at all in some of those areas. Look good. He's got some recommendations, good recommendations, and 2 of them are fairly current, which is even more impressive. So ask those customers that you have, ask those former bosses, ask those former co-workers, do you mind writing a LinkedIn recommendation? You might even give them the text that you want to do. Or is this a descriptive of the job of the work that we did together at XYZ Corporation? Again, I think I have 65. I have close to 40 recommendations. But if your recommendations are from 5 years ago, people are going to say, well, what have you been doing since then? Even though if you added up all the numbers in my profile, you know that I'm close to what my age is. Okay, somebody else, Patty, are we looking for a job?
Yep, we've got a few more. So the
Thank
first
you.
name is William. And the last name is Benshoof. That's Benshoof.
SH.
OOF.
Okay. Again, that I'm violating. You can give me a hard time. But this is
It's recorded. Jeff can watch it later.
okay. Okay. Again, that's a thing that LinkedIn has added to identify. Some names are not real certain as to whether it's male or female, and that's okay to identify those. But personally, it's not necessarily something I would include. That's a personal preference, not a criticism. Okay. Senior embedded software engineer. Okay. Microcontrollers. I have a pretty good idea what kinds of things that he was done. Okay. And the kind of experience he was looking for. Okay, you can list five titles, and you've listed 2. Okay. Notice when I look at details. Okay, on-site and remote. Looking in the Atlanta area, okay. Immediately looking, employment types, contract. See, here's somebody who's looking for possibly a contract position, contracting. I know even as a recruiter, I had probably a number of contract assignments as a recruiter. Some lasted a month, some lasted 4 years and 90 days, or 30 days. Okay. And we lost it. Come on. Okay. Again, I'd put the contact information, leave contact information off. You can just leave it off and move that up there. You're using space. Again, that's all people see is that first 3 lines or first 4 lines of the about sections. So if they don't make it easy to contact you, they may not contact you. Okay, his activity, he's done some things as a posting. That's great. He's taking a career break. Again, that's okay if you want to do it that way. I would put that what you're looking for in the way of a position rather than a career break. That's a personal preference. Nothing wrong with volunteer work or taking a career break. More accepted today than they used to be. But again, people still do have ideas about you taking a break, career break. Does that mean that you can't find a job, got laid off, or got fired? Those are the mentality. Those are some of the things that are lurking around in recruiter and hiring managers' mind. Okay. Okay. I might ask some things. Bill, have you done Internet of Things? So that might be another thing to include with some of the things that you've done.
Unfortunately, no.
Well, again, the skills you've got 65 there, are those the ones that you want listed on the top? Because those are the first things that people see. Remember when I said first impressions are important? I know when I took a detour in my career, I had a boss that said, he says, I don't care if you drink, but drink vodka, don't drink, I mean, drink bourbon rather than vodka. I'd rather people know that you're drunk rather than you're stupid. You know, if they make an impression on me. Okay. So those are just some of the things. What are the key elements of your career? I mean, what are the key things in your career that people are going to pay for? What are the kind of skills you want to list up there? Looks good. Other than that, Bill.
Locke, there was a question about Craig Hewitt's certified beer judge comment that he had, and he said that some coaches said he should include it, and some were against it. And what would you recommend?
That Bill's?
No, for Craig Hewitt. You just had looked at him.
Personally, I probably would not include it. Again, that's one of those things that's a personal preference, Craig. But again,
some people have actually thought it was a conversation starter, but also one of the reasons I put it up there is because I have applied at some distributors and so forth. So like companies like Andrews
You
Distribution.
specifically have a reason for including it.
Yeah. But I didn't know if it hurt my cause because who knows? I mean, somebody could, have a family, a person in their family who's an alcoholic and may think that's kind of, not a good thing to put on there. So I don't know.
One thing to consider when you're applying for jobs, what did I say about refreshing your profile?
Okay.
Occasionally for those jobs you're applying for, take it out. Doing those kinds of things once a week refreshes your profile. It used to be, job boards used to say if somebody had refreshed their resume, it goes to the top of the stack of the resumes. Okay, same kind of thing. It's one that freshness is an important criteria for LinkedIn as well. A lot of people are not aware of that, and I haven't touched there. I know I don't show up in profiles for recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area like I used to because I'm not as active on LinkedIn doing anything with it. I look at it daily, but I probably am not doing anything with it. Okay, somebody else to search for, Patty.
Yeah, let's go next to Ginger Hartgrove. So Ginger, and the last name is Hartgrove.
I was going to say, I used to be HR before the ATS system was out there. And if I printed out all my resumes, guess who's on top? The last one printed. So,
Ginger, since I've invited everybody else today, I'll do you too.
Shada, I'm just recently back in the game again. So,
okay. You've got 3 titles. You've mentioned an industry that you worked in. You mentioned project delivery and support as a consultant, as what's the other titles that you want to use?
well, as a business analyst, I've been in product delivery and support in the travel industry. And I've also just been a business. I just I'd change it around.
One of some of, I would include more titles there that, because those are the
Okay.
things that recruiters search on this job title. Business analyst may not be the thing. Well, travel agent, again, is maybe something that you've done, maybe not you want to do.
Yeah, no, just the travel industry, the airline industry. I've never been a travel agent, but
But travel industry, you mentioned airlines.
right, that's my whole experience is in the travel industry.
Okay,
Majority airlines, yes.
but airlines is not in your headline. You're one of the first things that people see. So just a thought.
Well, okay, a bulk of my experience was at Sabre, which is a distribution system for all the airlines. Technology. So,
It's also a technology company.
right.
Just something to think about.
Hey, Locke, quick question going back to that. So she's got the 3 that are there. What would you prefer to see instead of 3? Make it more like 5 or 7 if there's space,
Well,
or like
she's
sometimes
used
you
about
want
60
to load it,
she's about
but
60 characters, she has 220. Think about what recruiters do. When I talked about what recruiters do when they search, they look for skills and they look for keywords, skills, and they look for job titles. So what are Ginger, what are some of the titles of the jobs that you've looked for? Include those in there.
Business analyst is what mostly is related to the travel
So
related
you should
jobs
put
that I work
business
in.
analyst there as the first job
Some
entry.
call it IT
What are
business
some-
analyst, some call it consultant.
Okay, but use some of the job titles and the jobs that you've applied for. Because business analyst,
Really applying for anything lately, but it's mostly business analyst or IT business analyst.
okay, that's fine. Again, I'm just saying these are ways to creatively do things, because when you do a job search, if I were to do a job search for you, what would it be for business analyst? What?
It usually does not say, it's just, you have to look down in the job for that information. Sometimes it's not related to IT, sometimes it is, depending on the company.
Well, just think about that. Who is your people that you're trying to reach? Who are your readers? You've got a good background banner in there with the product delivery and support.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's take a look a little bit further down. And again, one of the things that I will tell you, and again, you've talked to a number of people that I know, like Bruce Allen and Charlie Zinger, and maybe Bruce
Mhm.
or Terry Sullivan. Again, each of us is going to give advice, and the advice is we try and give based on our experience. The advice is typically free because everybody that does it on Career DFW is volunteering our time. But what we do is trying to help you. And if trying the things that work, these are things that have worked for some people that we've talked to, or we wouldn't be sharing these things.
Oh, no, I'm glad for the input. And I have been working for about 1.5 years, so everything's changed again,
Well,
you know.
again, your contact information, we're already connected first degree, so I could see what your contact information is, but you want to have it in your about section. Notice you've got 4 lines and it's not in there. So if somebody's not directly connected with you, how are they going to get in touch with you? You've got some good things, customer experience, customer management. Those are some other titles that you might want to include up there.
Okay.
Communication strategy. Okay, those are just some other things, other ways to get people's attention. Look at all the things that you've done there, gap analysis. Okay,
Exactly.
so those are just some things. Make it easy for the person looking for a candidate to find you if you've got that experience.
And Ginger, would you connect with me? Apparently I can't get in there and send you a connection request. This is Michelle.
Who am I connecting with? Michelle, huh?
Yes.
Let me see here.
I say just in case, I mean, because Bell Helicopter, I know the HR manager out there. And
Oh,
if you want a connection out there, I can get you straight to that hiring manager.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, everybody should connect with everybody on here if you're not already connected, because we have a vast network of people we are connected to.
Right.
So definitely save the chat and connect with everybody on the call.
Ginger, you got a lot of good things going for you. Again, I would just expand on what you've got to show some of the other skill sets that you have and some of the other duties that you performed. Patty,
One question I had was I've had to work some part-time jobs and just
So-
customer-related jobs in between.
Bridge
I've
job.
been ultimately looking for full-time, but sometimes that doesn't happen, so you have to do other things.
Right.
I didn't know whether to leave like Costco and all that on there or to remove it.
If it emphasizes some of the skill sets that you're trying to use, like customer experience,
Mhm.
you work with customers.
Okay, I've
Somebody
heard
registered,
two
you may
different
run that.
things on it, so I never know.
If there's a reason to include it, do. If there's not, it doesn't hurt to omit it. You can cover things on dates by using annual dates rather than month and year like it looks for on LinkedIn. You can just you can also use an annual date on LinkedIn. Patty, I think we're just about out of time.
Yep, we are out of time. We're right at time. I'm sorry if we didn't get to look at your profile this time around, but hopefully you can come back for next month and we'll take a look at your profile then. In the meantime, hopefully you guys took a lot out of this session today with Locke. So Locke, thank you again for your presentation. And I did put in the chat his email address if you want a copy of it, but I will put it again in the chat so that you have it.
Give it real quick, Locke Alderson, all one word, @gmail.com. Just say you'd like
Yes.
a copy of the slides and I'll be happy to send them to you.
Absolutely. And so please save the chat if you can from your computer by clicking on the three dots next to the title of the meeting if you're on Windows 10, or if you're on Windows 11, it's at the bottom. There's either a caret or three dots down there where you can save the chat. And I will stay on for a minute or two afterwards so that you can download the chat, and I will stop the recording now.